We are talking Canes at a different day and a different time here at the Voice of College Football. We appreciate you stopping by. Leave those comments and questions there in the chat. If you checked out your community post today, you found out that we've got a Miami Primetime Live headed your way. And here we go for the first edition. So happy to be here. So most of you know that we get together with Cam Underwood from State at the U on Wednesday nights. This is going to be another staple of your week, Miami fans. Monday nights with Jaden and with Shay, talking Miami football. So it's the same kind of deal, just different personalities, different perspective, different angles from Shay and Jaden. So we got Shay McDonald. He writes for the Miami Hurricanes newspaper on campus, and also Jaden Gonzalez, who also writes for the University of Miami. So guys, we are excited to have you on board doing this because we know that you're entrenched in what's going on there on campus. You're close to the football team, love Miami football. And this is probably the best time of year with a few weeks runway till ACC kickoff media days, a good time to get started. So it's great to have both of you here.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Glad.
Yeah, really excited.
Yeah, for sure.
Jay, we'll get started with you just in regards to, I always like to find out people's stories. And so how'd you become a Miami football fan?
So, mainly because I go here. So, a couple years ago when I first got here, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really follow college football too often, but just being here the last 2 years, seeing this team, even my freshman year 2 years ago when we weren't that good, there were some really fun games when we made some fun comebacks. I believe it was the Clemson one. We were down really early. We made a fun comeback. And then last year, last year was a whole roller coaster of emotions with all those crazy comebacks and just going to those games, seeing Cam Ward, just this falling in love with this team over the last 2 years has been really exciting. Just, hopefully we get a little bit further, get a little bit better as we keep going.
You a basketball guy, baseball guy, other sports? What's your
mainly a football guy? Mainly a football guy.
NFL guy?
Yeah, NFL guy. I don't think people like which one my team is. So I will refrain from saying it for now. Take a guess if you're. Yeah.
All right. We'll let that come out at some point.
Yeah, we'll let it
you guys will get into it because although this is all college football, I'm sure you guys can kick around a little NFL take from time to time. Jaden, good to have you as well. And again, just kind of the same question in regards to your Miami football connection and where that started.
Yeah, similar to Shay, wasn't a big college football guy. I'm from the Northeast, so it wasn't, not a big part of our Saturdays. Big Sunday football guy, obviously. But when I first committed, when I got to Miami freshman year, 2 years ago, I fell in love with it when I joined the paper and started covering them, watching them play, figuring out the players, all that. I didn't get my first true taste of Miami football until the Georgia Tech game, unfortunately. That was one of the lowest points of my fandom, and I'd only been a fan for such a short time. But from that point on, I understood how the fan base acts. I understood how they are, who they are, and it made me more immersed in the team. I already felt like a true diehard already. And then the Clemson game, it was a great game from that. And then that entire season, I felt like. And then last year with Cam, had an unbelievable season. I was in the press box for a majority of these games. Had an absolute blast watching them. It was truly one of the coolest experiences of my life, watching Cam Ward and watching Miami is come back, truly be back. Although, 10-win season. And I'm hoping that in my next 2 years, and as I'm gonna be a fan for the rest of my life, we can finally go back to those glory days.
So for both of you guys, I'm sure that the more you get entrenched in Miami football, you're going to find out more and more about the past. But I'm sure you're pretty well set on what's happened in the past. That this was not a blue blood. It was not an elite program. It's not a long storied program going back decades and decades like a Notre Dame or Ohio State or Michigan, somebody like that. But then boom, 1980 hits, Howard Schnellenberger hits, and just boom, they explode. They start keeping the players in South Florida. After that, it was almost, the program almost was extinct in the late 70s. And they went in a first national championship in 1983. And between, roughly 1980 and 2000, you're talking about most likely the most successful program in college football. And now it's been a rough go for about 20 years. And, there's always this thought that if the right guy gets hired and he gets the right support from the administration, then there's no reason why Miami, with the fan support nationally, and some people may get duped a little bit by the empty seats at Hard Rock Stadium. And even though that's not a good look, I don't think that in any way, I know that doesn't take into account the national fan base of Miami football. It's enormous. So there's a lot of support, there's a lot of money, there's a lot of backing. And if the administration's pushing in the right direction and you get the right head coach, that it looked for a couple seasons, like Mark Richt might be the guy that you're going to turn into a winner. And so, Jaden, I'll hit you with this first. What are the pros and cons as it stands right now with Mario Cristobal hitting a fourth year, where you tend to think, okay, these are the bullet point items that make me think he is the guy, versus, oh, maybe I'm still needing some proof on this side?
Yeah, I mean, every time I see Mario, I think about Mario. I think of my first thought is he's a fantastic recruiter. Since he took over, he got a lot of the guys from Oregon, got a lot of the staff from Oregon, and he's got a lot of guys. And now that you add, when NIL is in play, and you add what we have in South Florida with the amount of money that we can spend, and that you have an administration that looks like they're willing to, cater to Mario. You're seeing guys that Mario can recruit, especially the guys in South Florida, but not even that, the transfers. He's done a great job in the portal, I think, over the last few years. Obviously, Cam Ward's one of the greatest portal acquisitions in the short period of the portal. And then this year, Beck, getting guys, he completely rebuilt the secondary, getting guys in the defensive back, the safety, all that kind of areas. I think he's a great recruiter. I think he's great at getting players. My biggest concern with him, though, is him as a coach. Last season, our offense was great because of Cam Ward, but there were times where I thought talent-wise, this team could have easily made the playoffs, could easily won a game in the playoffs. Felt like this team had an easy opportunity, and they kind of blew it. I mean, they had, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the country, and they kind of just they failed to kind of win. And I think Mario should take at least some of the blame from that. Obviously, the defense was the biggest concern, but I think Mario should absolutely take some sort of blame for how things went down in Georgia Tech and Syracuse. Those are two bad losses that could have easily been avoidable. And I think that is the number one concern I have with Mario. It's how can he coach his team? Can he bring on the right guys on the staff to lead the team to the CFP at least?
Shay, before we get you back into this, we got our buddy Leroy the Black Ninja Turtle joins us on a regular basis on Wednesday night. So, Leroy, good to have you here. This is going to be a staple right here. So, Leroy, make it a Monday night too, with these guys, with Jaden and with Shay, every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So, Leroy, thank you so much for the super sticker. And I might as well, I would be not a good friend if I moved on, let you guys take the rest of the show, and I did not introduce you to George. So George is going to be somewhat pain in the ass, but still he's going to be, you're going to grow to love him, maybe hate him first, but then maybe eventually love him. So you can obviously, George is a Gator fan. So George is going to be here like he is on Wednesday nights to basically rip the Hurricanes and rip them to shreds. And even though Miami ripped Florida last year, 41-17, that doesn't dismiss him at all. That doesn't cause him hesitation at all. He just comes with guns ablazing. So George is always in the chat. We appreciate George. George has probably commented to our channel more than anybody ever. So we love George. George is awesome. So just get used to George being here, and you'll read. He's a funny dude, so you'll read just about anything out of him. All right, Shay. Your take on this Miami football team, what's happened this offseason, how they've kind of tried to transition, like Jaden has set us up for, with, they had the one year with Cam Ward, which I don't want to say it was wasted. He was a Heisman finalist. They won 10 games, but if they don't blow 21-0 at Syracuse, then they're playing in the ACC championship game for a shot to get to the playoff. So they kind of start over. They got a Carson Beck, which a lot of teams would love to have him, but his health is somewhat in question, although it looks like he's going to be okay. So Shay, your thoughts about how the offseason's gone and how prepared this team is for 2025.
Yeah, I mean, it does start with coaching. I mean, the movement from off of Lance Guidry to Corey Heatherman, I think, is a big switch. I did some research about him writing for the Hurricane earlier, and then it was like, you see what he did going from even the smaller program up to what he did at Minnesota, and that's the type of defensive culture you want to set for your team. You combine that with all the transfers in the secondary and on the defense to kind of have an influx of talent into that area, and that's another big part. But what I'm really am concerned about, especially given Carson Beck, and you want to surround him with the most as possible, as much as you can. Miami year in, year out, going to have a solid offensive line, but what the weapons, I think, is a big concern given that you lose your entire receiving core. You lose Isaiah Horton to Bama, which was a massive loss given that the flash he showed even as a sophomore last year, you were like, this guy could be a huge asset for us moving into this year. I think those are the big. I mean, you are going to have both the running backs back, two of your running backs back there with Mark Fletcher. Wow, I'm blanking. Sorry, Jordan Lyle. Those two could be a good little thunder and lightning, a little backfield combo that you could like. Yeah, those receivers, especially when we saw Beck last year, when he had some of those struggles where his receiving core really wasn't on point and was constantly struggling. There's a guy who got drafted by the Jets who had like so many drops last year. But like the speedster. And so like you think those things, especially with the way Beck plays, he's very much of a timing quarterback. So, when you think about that, and if timing's messed up with those receivers and he's thrown off, he's not the type of guy who can get out and go if he needs to. And like ad lib, like we saw Cam Ward last year when things weren't perfect. So, I think you're going to need to see a lot of development from that group as we enter into the season, especially starting week 1 with Notre Dame, like the college football runner-up. Like I think that is a big test week 1 for Beck and this offense.
Yeah, I think public perception seems to swing in these like wild swings back and forth. So 1 year ago, we're going into the season, and I posted a video because I couldn't find a website that didn't have Carson Beck listed as the #1 quarterback in the nation. And I was like, well, he's really good, but is he the consensus #1? Are you kidding me? He's not that good. And then here we are a year later, after he had, sure, a down year compared to the season before, but it was by no means an awful year. They won the SEC championship, and he didn't get to play in the playoffs, so who knows what they would have done. And here we are a year later, and suddenly a bunch of people think the guy's trash. So I think we're somewhere in the middle. I think we're closer to the Carson Beck of 2023 that, if this guy plays to his capabilities and gets reasonable help, especially with an offensive line that's one of the best in the nation, he should be a top 5 to 10 quarterback in the country. So, but yeah, Shay, great to have you. Jaden, great to have you. You guys take off from here. I know you got a number of topics lined up, so I will get out of your way, but it's awesome to have you here at the Voice of College Football.
Yep, we appreciate you. Thank you.